what the inspiration was behind. Okay, I'm just going to try with the volume and see if we can make it better.
I don't really hear anything. I hear somebody call.
Is is this okay? Can you hear this?
It's a little bit better.
Okay. Can you start off by telling us a bit about your inspiration behind the film? I'm
But
going to type to him and then.
sorry, this is much better. Okay. Um, I I got the idea for the film around 2008 when I was working in the Middle East on a commercial project. When I spent about a year and a half in the region, and when I saw how biased my own view on the Middle East, Arab society, Arab culture was, basically through what we see in the news and in the media every day. And I also met a lot of artists who expressed their lives and their environment through their arts. So the idea was to give people, mainly in the West, a different image of Arabic culture through Arabic underground artists who express their opinions and their views on certain issues. So that was the inspiration.
Thank you. And how did you come to focus on the specific individuals, the artists that we see in the film, and be familiar with their work?
I'm sorry, I really don't understand a word. Good question. Um, the artists you see in the film are about 15% of the people we actually met and filmed. So the selection process itself was very tough, very long. Um, the problem was that we never had money for the film. So every time I scratched together some money, we went down, filmed everybody we could get our hands on, and without really pre-selecting the artists beforehand. So in the editing room, we had to create a structure based on topics, and then we slowly filtered out the artists who matched those topics best through their interviews, through their arts, and the amount of time we were able to spend with them. And also, to a certain degree, my personal taste in music. Um, uh, because we met great people, but in some cases, I just preferred that artist's music over another artist's music. But it was not the defining criteria. It was basically who did we spend most time with, who had most to say, and who was able to express their thoughts through their arts and in the interviews best. Um, And some artists, I met amazing Palestinian artists, but at some point I just had to make cuts on the Palestinian issue because it would have been too heavy on the Palestinian issue.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to open it up to questions from the audience and take one at a time. If you bear with me while I let him know that, and then I'll return and we can take some questions, if that's okay. So, you have questions in my hand. Does anybody have a question that they wanted to be passed on? Yeah, if you want to relay it to me. If you want to, you're welcome to. Or I can type it for you.
I was saying thank you for the film to the director, and I was going to ask that out of all the countries that have gone through the Arab Spring, the one that is not featured with its underground music and musicians is Syria. And I wondered what was the reason for that, whether because the artists, were jailed and not available, whether it was logistics because they couldn't get in. It'd just be interesting to find out, what were the difficulties there. Thank you.
No problem.
Um, yes, we did. In the beginning, we wanted to go to Damascus, and another of my destinations was Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Syria, the problem was that in the course of the making of the film, the situation got too bad. It was hard to get there anyway, but then it was just impossible. And we actually did film Syrian artists in the Golan Heights, um, which didn't make it into the film, unfortunately. But yeah, it was unfortunately we were too slow in finding the needed money to go to Syria before it got really bad. And there's a lot of Syrian artists now also in Lebanon, which who create great music and arts now, but that was already too late for us as well. Looking for cigarettes. No, it will be screened for the first time. We were waiting for the Middle Eastern premiere, um, and we wanted to have the Middle Eastern premiere in an Arabic country. So we had to wait, and we will have the Middle Eastern premiere this December at the Film Fest in Dubai. I'm very happy about that.
Questions that I've missed before we wrap up.
Is the connection okay now?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'll type to him.
It was pretty easy. Due to my work in the region before starting the film, I knew a lot of the artists, especially in Beirut, Cairo, and Amman. And it's basically you meet one artist and he points you to 10 new ones. So it's very. I felt it was very easy to get in touch with loads of artists who were all very keen to help us and to let us into their lives and show us their work. The research process was a lot on social media and through social media. Um, and just talking to people, to artists, to people who are connected to the alternative scene, radio DJs, and so on. And so I just created a map of the underground scene that you get a glimpse of in the film. What we actually filmed was much more massive, and just from the footage of all the artists, I could probably make another 5 movies.
I'm just going to take one more question and then we'll wrap up. So, go ahead.
Thank you. I was wondering if you could describe the demographic of the musicians' audiences a little. I found that this lacked a little in the movie.
Like all of them? It's I would say it's rather young audience, which doesn't mean a teenage audience, but young, liberal, mostly educated people. Then again, with the hip hop scene, it really goes through all social levels. Shabi music in Cairo, which is more a lower social class thing, or used to be when I was there. I think it's finding its way into mainstream now. I would say a younger audience, which means like up to 40 maybe, and educated liberal people. I never thought too much about the demographic of the audience, I have to admit.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to close with one more question for Farid, but thank you all for bearing with us through this tech difficulty. So just one final question.
I mean, my aim was to really show mainly Western audiences a different take on young Arabs, and from the reactions we've gotten so far, I think that worked. Very often, I get the reaction, basically, we had no idea, because the image of Arabs is just what we see on TV all the time. It's closely connected to violence, frustration, aggression, and which is only a fraction of the reality. Most people, as Zaid points out in the film, most people just want the same thing all over the world. And live in peace and freedom and raise their families. So, and as trivial as that sounds, I think it's important to remind people and ourselves from time to time that we're talking about just normal people. And it's sad that we live in a time where you actually have to be reminded of this simple fact and this simple truth. So, and obviously that there's an amazing art scene in the region and that the artists should have much more recognition outside or even in their own countries than they actually do have. Um, about the film, we are online, yallahunderground.com, and we're on Facebook, facebook.com/yallahunderground, where we try to post news and screenings, and where you can also find a list of the artists. And my work, I don't know. I just keep making films. My my background is music videos and commercials. So my first documentary feature was last year about the Gezi protests in Istanbul 2 years ago, which is Istanbul United. And now I'm prepping my first fiction film, but I don't really have a PR agent or something that is posting news about my work. And I'm sorry for being so low-key today. I've been shooting since 6 in the morning, and I'm like a little bit tired. Perfect. Thank you.